Today's episode of the Bill Simmons podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. That's our presenting sponsor. That's the easiest way to shop for the best tickets thanks to the revolutionary grading system. Buy and sell tickets in just 2 taps on your phone. Everything fully guaranteed. And right now, my listeners get $10 off baseball tickets the first time you use SeatGeek. You're a listener. You count. Use promo code BSMLB and you get $10 off baseball tickets the first time. Download the SeatGeek app today or go right to SeatGeek.com. We're also brought to you by Hotel Tonight. The weather changes, your mood changes. Why lock yourself into plans that might change? With Hotel Tonight, you'll get incredible deals on awesome hotels, even at the last minute. Booking on Hotel Tonight gives you the freedom and flexibility to play things by ear. It's my kind of thing. I love playing things by ear. Knowing you'll score a great price and a great place to stay. Download the Hotel Tonight app to find seriously amazing deals right now. And finally, we are brought to you by Binge Mode. That is our new Game of Thrones podcast. Mallory Rubin, the mother of dragons, Jason Concepcion, the maester. Both of them are breaking down all 60 Game of Thrones episodes that already happened, as well as the 7 or 8 that are coming. But if you want the deepest of deep dives on Game of Thrones, if you want to binge watch the series for the first time, if you want to re-binge watch the series, or if you just want to listen to Game of Thrones get broken down like a combination of Mel Kiper Jr. and Jalen Rose, and I can't even tell you how many great experts would have to be rolled into matching Jason and Mallory. But you can download Binge Mode right now on iTunes, on Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast. It's there. Binge Mode, our new Game of Thrones podcasts. Don't fail the mother of dragons. Subscribe to her podcast. All right, we are about to run a podcast that I taped last week with James Corden, who has never been on this show before. Fascinating guy. He's going to London for his show this week. And here's the podcast. All right, it is a Friday afternoon, Memorial Day weekend. We are holding this until beginning of June. James Corden is here. He's taking his show to London that week, so we're going to run it as a little promotion.
Well, bless you.
But I'm glad we're finally able to do this.
It's lovely to be here.
It's the first time you've taken your show to London, right?
It's the first time. It's the first time any, I think, show in its iteration that we're doing it has gone as
overseas.
Far as we're going. Yeah, like I think like Conan and stuff does shows where he sort of, but he doesn't really take. He goes and makes almost sort of travel documentaries, but we're really. It's a very ambitious thing to be doing for our show. Like we're building a whole set in a.
It's like almost 5,000 people, right?
It's 5,000 over the course of the 3 shows. Yes, yeah, so it's like a 2,000 seat venue, I think, and it's it's in Westminster Cathedral Hall, which is sort of right opposite like Big Ben and the House of Parliament, and which felt like a great idea a few months ago. Yeah, because I was a bit like, we can't go somewhere. There's no point traveling the show to London and doing it in a TV studio. Do you know what I mean? We might as well just stay here and change the backdrop and tell everyone we're in London. How would you ever know, you know? Yeah. I was like, we've got to be somewhere that feels like it's of London. Yeah. But that's, now that we're very close to doing it, like I leave tomorrow, I can completely understand why you would go and do it in a television studio. Because like it doesn't have a lighting rig and it doesn't have sound and all these things. But I don't know. It'll be fun, I think. I'm looking forward to it.
The energy is incredible.
I hope so. I hope it will be.
Would you have like 1 million people wanted tickets for 3 days?
Apparently so, yeah. There was 1 million requests for the 3 nights of tickets in the UK, which is incredibly, I don't know, overwhelming if you think about it too much. But, you know, you never... I always think someone might be lying to me when they say stuff like that. That's just because
it was really like 20,000.
Yeah, well, I'd sell for 20,000. That's all right. We only need 5. But I just, but I don't know. Apparently, yeah.
I mean, you were really big in England before you came here. When you go back, or do people say, hey, how's it going? Or like, when are you coming back? Like, what's the attitude toward you?
There's been a real sort of... I've really felt a sort of outpouring of people saying I don't know, of, I guess, pride. I don't know if that's the right word, but that's certainly how it's felt, that when I go home, people kind of say, oh, good for you. Because there's a lot of people who have come from home and tried to do television shows in America, and have come with have left Britain with quite a bluster. Yeah. Said, I shall go to America and repeat my success there. And then they come back about a year and a half later and making a sort of terrible sitcom in Britain, you know. And I was very, I don't know, I sort of was fully expecting that to happen. So I don't know, I really didn't, I felt like the show would probably get cancelled at some point. Like, genuinely, like, we rented furniture for a while, my wife and I, because I was like, but we'll buy nothing, because what's the chances, you know, of it ever working?
I remember hearing when they picked you, thinking like, what the fuck are they doing? They're taking a British guy, putting him at 12:30, and it was just I was surprised.
Yeah, no,
and
that
I think
makes
a lot
two
of people
us.
felt that
yeah,
way.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I thought it was a stupid thing to do. I thought it was a crazy decision at the time.
But you wanted it though, right? You went to meet with Moonves for like a sitcom, and you kind of got the idea to do a late night show instead?
Not really.
Oh,
that's
okay.
not really. What happened was I had come to America and done sort of this thing of just going around to loads of meetings with casting directors and presidents of whatever network and stuff, and often those meetings are just dying of encouragement. You just die of encouragement of people saying, I'd love to work with you, this would be fantastic.
Yeah, well, I'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
Hear from them again. Yeah. But in these meetings, I had this idea. I had an idea for a television show, for a sort of comedy drama, if you like. And at home, I had written 2 comedies which had done very well. And in truth, I sort of felt like I could only really repeat my success at home at best.
Yeah. And
the chances of that were probably quite slim. So it felt like somewhere I wanted to come and try and make a TV show. And I felt like, and in the end, to my absolute surprise, I had offers from sort of 5 networks, really. And I decided that I was going to make my show for HBO. I thought I was going to write this TV show for HBO. It just felt like the right place to do it. And I was going to do a musical on Broadway. I was going to do A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, a Stephen Sondheim musical, which I was very much sort of tentatively just starting to talk about doing. And CBS had made, without question, the most aggressive offer financially, bar none. I didn't know this at the time, but Les Moonves, who's my boss, and Nina Tassler, who was the then president, had both seen me in a play on Broadway. And I sort of went to meet them in New York because to explain to them my decision, really. And I was sort of going, look, I know you're disappointed, but don't be. I've done you a great favor. Because you were going to overpay for this script. Yeah. The script I would hand in is never going to be on network TV. Believe me, if I felt I could write a multi-camera network sitcom, I'd do it tomorrow. Like, because that's you know what I mean?
That's the easiest.
Oh my God! But also, you're set for the rest of your life. If you write Friends, forget about it. Done. I was like, but this show, this idea, it isn't that. And what's going to happen is I'm going to hand in a script. You're going to hate it and you're going to be annoyed that you paid so much money for it. You're going to get me to change it. I then in turn will hate you because you're changing it. It'll never get made and we'll never work together and we'll hate each other. I was like, so don't be disappointed. I'm saying I've done you a favor. You're never going to put this show on your network, as it was dealing with very adult themes. And yeah. There was sex in it, there was swearing in it, there was... and Stephen Colbert had just been announced like a week before, and Craig Ferguson had just said he was stepping down. And I told them that I felt that Stephen Colbert was an incredible appointment. And also, more than that, the deft way that they handled it. They didn't botch it at all. There was no rumour, there was no... this, that, or the other. Letterman said he was stepping down. It was sort of radio silence for a week, and then bang, he was announced. There was no drip feed of information, all that stuff. And I sort of said, from when I'd done the 2 times that I'd worked in New York was when I was in plays. And so I'd got into kind of watching late night TV, and I said I found that 12:30 slot is a funny one for a network like CBS. I was like, if you're just gonna make another late night show, you just don't bother. Like nowhere else in television would you say 8 till 9 we're going to have a hospital drama, and then 9 till 10 we're going to have a hospital drama with the same diseases as the one before, you know? And I was like, you've got to try and make a younger show.
Yeah, at least NBC has Chicago, but there's fire, and then there's police.
There's fire, and there's CSI Cyber, and then there's CSI whatever the other ones are, you know? And I was like, you've got to make a show which will embrace the internet. You've got to make a show, because the idea of that 12:30 slot and late night was quite a high propensity of people watching that were students. I think it's safe to say, you know, stoners, people up late watching TV. I was like, that's not how they consume their content anymore.
Yeah.
It is to an extent if it's on, but you've got to make a show which can cast a net wider than that. And also there is no risk attached to this, because you got Stephen. And you know what his show's going to be like, and you know that it's going to be great. So, and I wasn't pitching for it. Like, I really wasn't. We were just sort of talking about television and where it's going and how this slot could really be
So you're just giving them your theories on late night.
I was like, I feel like this 12:30 slot is a gift if you can embrace the internet. I was like, it can achieve a relevance past its time slot.
How much did you know about embracing the internet at that point?
Not a lot, but I knew that that's how I had watched The Tonight Show in the last couple of years. Like, I was a huge fan of Jimmy Fallon's in the UK, where his show doesn't air. And I was like, I love this guy, but not, and it doesn't, the show doesn't air.
It didn't matter that you,
because I go on and I'll subscribe to that channel and I can watch all this stuff. And you know, that's just what I sort of felt it should be, really. And, and then, you know, and then we ended up.
Then it just kind of snowballed.
Yeah.
Were you scared to move here?
I wasn't scared to move. I was scared of it.
Yeah.
I didn't feel scared of moving. In fact, I felt excited about moving. I sort of felt like, I don't think anyone lies on their deathbed and goes, oh, I wish I hadn't lived in that other country for a while.
Yeah.
You know, there is no way your life won't be enriched by just living somewhere else. And that's been an absolute truth for me and my wife and our children. Like, it does a wonderful thing for a relationship when you go and move somewhere else, because when you're at home, you know, you've got old friends, new friends, you've got your people who are friends of yours as a couple. You've got your independent friends that you grew up with, and you've got your friends who you perhaps go to work with. And it's when you move 13 hours on a plane away or 12 hours on a plane away, and it's just you, it's a really amazing thing. I've certainly felt that in my relationship with my wife, that this time now, this past 2 years, you're going, well, we're in this, you and me together, and we've moved our children here, and we're going to build a life from scratch. And you make friends, and then you think you've made friends, and you go, oh, I'm not sure I want to be friends with these people anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's a really strange, it's a really weird sort of thing where you're choosing friends, whereas actually at home, I don't think I have that many new friends. Most of my friends at home are people I've known since I was 23.
Right.
Then I haven't made any new friends in London in the last 7 or 8 years. Because I'm like, well, these are my friends.
I had a very similar thing, because I moved out here in 2002. It was just me and my then fiance. Mm-hmm. And that was it. But I moved from Boston. Yeah. So I'm in the United States, but going from Boston to LA is basically like moving to a different country anyway.
It would be easier for you to move from Boston to London. Right. It's easier to move from New York to London. Like, moving London to New York, it feels almost exactly the same. Of course it's different. It's wildly different. But the spirit and the core and the energy of the places are the same. Whereas moving to Los Angeles...
It's smarter to do it here, though.
Well, the overwhelming reason was we were like, there's so many other shows there. We're never going to have a guest.
Right.
We'll never have a guest, you know? So, but I'm very, very pleased to live here. I think it's a
wonderful place.
Biggest
surprise for you about America that you didn't expect?
Well, I mean, I'm reticent to even say I live in America, really. That's the biggest thing I've realized is that Los Angeles,
California is,
you know, but my biggest thing of living in Los Angeles, the thing I've been most overwhelmed by is that I think that there are more creative people in this city per square mile than anywhere else on the planet. And that's the thing that no one says about it. All people ever say about Los Angeles is they seem to talk about these people, they talk about, fake people and this, that and the other, like there's none of them in London. And I can name you 1,000. Or there's none of them in New York. Or there's none of them in Chicago. Right. It's like, of course those people are there. But my experience, like, of being here, you know, there are people here who I think they blow my mind in their volumes of creativity. They make the fucking Simpsons here. Wherever they make the Simpsons, I'm like, I'm in. That's a good place. Because I don't understand how you can make a show that's as good as that consistently, you know?
I was shocked how many people move here to do something. You know, most other parts of America, people are there because their parents were born there and they took over the house or whatever. Yeah. Here, everybody comes here. Mm-hmm. So the amount of transplants, I was shocked. Like, I'm from Boston. I know a million people from Boston here. Yeah. There's Chicago people, New York people, and Texas people, and it goes on and on. Yeah. They all came here to achieve something.
Do you find when you go back to Boston, because I find this if I go to New York or I go to certain pockets of London. Yeah. If it's raining, which it rains a lot in Boston, right? The weather's not always.
It's about 9 terrible months and 3 decent ones. So there you
go. That's kind of London, really. Yep. And I go home and I'll look at people and I want to go over to them and go, you know, it doesn't have to be like this.
I say that to my dad all the time. Yeah. He's still there.
We have a writer on our show called Dickie Egan, who's a phenomenal writer and a brilliant brain, and he's from Boston. And he says to his brothers all the time, they'll moan about the weather or whatever, and he'll go, just move over here. It's amazing. You have a garden.
It's sunny every day. Yeah. You know what it is? Because I've talked to people back there about it. It's almost like when people are in prison and they learn how to make the best of the situation. Yeah. It's like, that's great. I get to go in the yard every couple hours a day. And
I don't have any bills. I got no one banging on my door saying, where's your rent money? Food's taken care of.
You start rationalizing it. And in Boston, I love the seasons. I'd miss the seasons. It's like, what are the seasons? The seasons are, it's terrible for 7 months a year, and then it's 97 degrees for 2 months a year, and then somewhere in the middle of that are these fun 10 weeks.
Well, also you sort of, you start to talk about a life that you don't have. People say, oh no, but I can go to so many museums. I can go to so many restaurants. And I look at them, I go, you haven't been to a fucking museum in years. You're not at MoMA every weekend. You go to the same 3 restaurants. It's just, I
was back there 2 weeks ago to go to a Celtic game, last week actually. And the weather had gotten nice and people just poured outside. Like women were like, they hadn't even gotten their jogging bras on yet. They're outside.
But that is when it's great. And that's the only thing I do miss here is the very notion of being in a public city. Yeah. New York, London, Boston, from what I've never been, but from what you're saying about it, when the sun's out and people get out on the street and you walk around and that is a thing. Because Los Angeles, what I've realized, isn't really a city. It's a collection of disparate towns. And what you have to do is find the town that you want to.
I would even say it's territories, not towns.
Yeah,
it's
maybe.
Like gang. Like it's like you have your little gangs over here, your little gangs over there, and then everybody just kind of drifts from gang to gang.
I live in Brentwood, so I'm sort of it's never really felt like we're in a gang.
No, I don't mean gang. I mean, you know what I mean.
I know, I'm joking, but. So I do miss that feeling of a public city, of getting out and seeing.
Well, you said you'd never been to Boston. So I went to London for 4 weeks for the Olympics.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Which was like the best family trip I've ever had.
Yeah, it's great.
And London, you remember I was there in London thinking, oh, yeah, London built Boston. Because it's very similar.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
And it's even like a better version of Boston because there's even like more drinking. There's better public transportation. For just people pouring out at 3 in the afternoon. And when we were there, just by chance, the weather was beautiful.
It was. Well,
so everybody was so happy.
Everyone's so happy. When the sun shines,
It was the best.
There's nowhere else I'd rather be than sat on Primrose Hill in London. I would take it over the southern coast of Italy, the south of France, Barcelona, Mexico, and Miami Beach. I would take it over everywhere because on a hot sunny day, if you're lucky enough to be in London town, you will see a spirit of people which is unmatched anywhere else.
And when we were there, everybody in London was worried about, we're not ready for the Olympics. The weather's going to be terrible.
Of course.
This is going to be a disaster.
But that goes back to
and
my
then
feeling
the weather's
about this
beautiful.
show.
Yeah.
That's just how you're brought up. It's not glass half empty. It's just, I'm lucky I got a glass, I don't know what's in it. We'll find out, It's a lot of that.
Quick break to talk about Texture. How do we keep this podcast fresh? Well, I read a ton of stuff every day, including a bunch of magazines on the Texture app. Texture gives me access to hundreds of magazines, good ones like The Atlantic, New York Magazine, New Yorker SI, all in one place. On my tablet or phone, they have daily recommendations, interactive features, videos, and more. They make it easy to find and enjoy the articles I want to read. It's searchable. You can check out back issues, view bonus content. No wonder it was selected as one of Apple's top 2016 iPad apps. And since I read everything on my iPad, Texture has been a godsend. Normally, it's $9.99 a month for access to over 200 magazines. But if you sign up right now at texture.com/BS, you get a 14-day free trial. Oh, yeah, 14 days for free. Test it out. Try it. What's better than that? Why subscribe to just a couple of magazines when you can subscribe to all of them? Start your free trial. Download the Texture app today. Go to texture.com/BS for your 14-day free trial. Back to James Corden. So you come here. How long did it take to plan the show? How many months?
Oh, no. Well, we only had 11 weeks from arriving to our first show. Yeah.
And when you showed up, you hadn't even hired a staff yet?
We'd hired 6 people. Okay. So we had to hire another 70, I think.
Oh, my God.
And build a set and work out what the show was and find a band for Reggie and everything, really. We had to do everything. We had to build everything. Everything you see on the thing was done between sort of, January. Yeah. January. Yeah, it was like 3 months.
I moved out here in 2002 to work for Kimmel when he was launching his show.
Right, yeah.
Because we were friends and then it just happened. And that 3 months goes by so fast. All of a sudden there's 100 people there and there's a band and a stage and you're planning it and it's just, you're like, wow, that date's coming soon where we're going to launch this thing. And it's like in speed mode. Yeah,
it's a very strange time, really, because certainly if you're the host of a show, what I realized is when you're in that period of gearing it up and getting everything together and tonally trying to think what it is and going out and shooting stuff and things like this, you start, and I'd never really hosted a show like this before, and you start to feel like you're just on a team.
Yeah.
You're on a team and you start to even feel like, oh, well, I'm just one of the team. I'm just one of the team here. And then very, very slowly on the day that you're going to air, which our first date was like March 23rd, people start to tap you on the shoulder and go, hey, good luck out there. Hey, good luck. Hey, rooting for you, man. Hey, good. And very slowly people start to leave you and you make this walk on your own until it comes to a point where the last person goes, all right, have a good one. And you're stood behind a curtain looking at the sort of backward reflection of a spotlight thinking, oh, I'm not on a team at all. I'm just on my own now. And this curtain's going to open and I'm going to walk out, I'm going to say hello. And I don't know if people are going to go, nah.
Right.
Or, okay, yeah. And it's incredibly daunting. And especially knowing where we were and how gobsmackingly unknown it all was, and I was, and we were. Like, it was crazy that we didn't even have guests for show sort of 6 when we launched.
Kimmel had that too.
Like 0, no one,
You
nothing.
get the first two shows, you get the good ones, and then all of a sudden you're scrambling until everybody's kind of waiting to see if it's going to be good or not.
We just had to call in favors, and I spent about sort of 4 days just driving around publicists' offices just going, promise you, I'm not a bad guy, it's going to be okay. And more than that, like, we were then asking people, we were saying, look, we're going to bring all our guests out at the same time. And you would meet publicists who would say, well, my client would never do that. My client won't sit with someone else. And luckily for us, there's a show in the UK called The Graham Norton Show, which I've been watching.
So that's a show I've seen on YouTube a bunch of times.
It's a brilliant show. Yeah. It's a brilliant talk show. And luckily for us, we had the knowledge of that show. And I was able to go, no, but your client did though.
Yeah.
I saw your client like a month ago. Sat next to such and such and such and such.
Yeah.
And also, just so you know, they were brilliant on that show. I would say it's the best interview I've seen them give. And publicists would go, right, well, okay, yeah, fine, well, we'll see how we go, you know. And it was a lot of that. It was a real, like, I couldn't get in our building without my pass a month after we'd aired.
Well, you're talking about the structure of what late night shows were supposed to be for those publicists, where it's like, my client's going to come out.
Lead guest, second guest, third guest, music.
You have 3 stories.
Yeah.
You're going to lead them toward the 3 stories. Mm-hmm. You're going to show a clip.
Yeah.
It's going to seem like it's ad lib, but it's really not. And then they leave.
Yeah.
And they don't have to worry about what might happen in that structure.
Of course. Yeah.
But if they're ad libbing and they're sitting next to like Gary Busey, something crazy happens, like who the hell knows?
Well, I could see their point if that was the case. I really feel if that's the case, I'm on the publicist side on that one. And I think if our show ever gets to that point, I'm saying to you now, I want you to get in the car, drive to the studio, tap me on the shoulder and go, James, it's done. It's time to go home.
Busey harassed another guest.
If I'm sat in our show and Busey's there, I'm saying to you, Bill, I want you to come down,
all right,
get in and go,
I'll drive my car through the studio.
Time's up. It's time to go back to London.
It must have flipped with the publicists once. So once they the Carpool Karaoke thing, all of a sudden they're trying to get, I'm sure you had like 1 million people trying to get their clients into that car with you.
Yes, I think so. I mean, I don't hear
you
a lot
don't have to be humble
about that. No, I'm not. I'm saying, but I don't hear a lot about that because we have sort of, we've, as soon as that segment felt like it was a thing and was becoming a thing, we felt like we had to implement our own rules really and go, well, okay, we have to sort of try and protect this. And look, we could do it every week if we wanted. We've only put out 2 this year and they were in the last 8 days.
Well, yeah, you have a danger element to that where if you beat it in the ground, it's not fun anymore.
Exactly. So we were like, we have to preserve this only for the biggest or most relevant music artists in the world.
Yeah.
And that's it. We cannot break that rule. So of course I want to get in the car and do it with, I don't know,
100 people.
I'd love to, but like nothing would give me more joy than driving around in a car and singing songs with Will Ferrell. It would be amazing TV. But we feel like we have to keep it in that sort of rarefied air because that's the only way it will ever sort of sustain itself, really.
So you're trying to do like 5 a year, maybe?
I mean, look, we never put a number on it because it just comes around to who's got albums out, who do we think is interesting, who's got a tour to promote, and who, you know. And of course, there's a list of names where you're like, they're the golden names. If Billy Joel's around, like nothing would give me more joy than doing it with Billy Joel.
You haven't done Billy Joel yet, though, right? Have you?
No, God, no.
I was going to say I would remember it because my daughter's seen, I think, all of these, and I would have remembered the Billy Joel.
Yeah, no, he's amazing. So who knows? We'll see. We've got. Yeah.
Can you explain to me? I hate asking about Carpool Karaoke because I know everybody asks you about it.
It's all right.
So you're driving.
Yes. Very close to these studios. We drive.
Where are you driving? What neighborhoods? How fast are you going?
Here, we basically, obviously it depends where we are. So the Adele one we did in London, Madonna we did in New York, but predominantly we're here. We drive in a convoy. There's a car in front of us, 2 cars behind us, and 1 car that will drive around or alongside or get, exterior shots of the car or whatever. And
do people know it's your convoy or no?
Not really. I mean, if we stop at the lights and they see it's Katy Perry or whatever, then yeah. But predominantly, the rule is we just drive in a straight line away from the sun.
Away from the sun.
So you don't get like weird mirror shadows on your face and stuff. Yeah. So that's kind of it. So we get on normally on like Beverly and drive as far as we can.
I think it's really impressive you're driving. that you're singing
Los Angeles, so you're driving in increments. Let's be clear. I'm driving in Hollywood.
You're going 2 blocks
between the hours of 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Where really, how fast can you ever be going? So I'm very relieved of the stops. Like, it's great.
I'm still impressed.
Thank you. Yeah,
my wife can't drive when she's not singing with Adele. Well, she can't drive, I mean.
Yeah, so it's just, that's it. We just try and, that's it really. I'm very proud of it. I really am. I know that, like, sometimes you sort of shouldn't be, but I really am.
Well, I mean, the YouTube views are, I can't even imagine.
But you can't associate success to, like, that
I'm not
sort of
associating the success.
Like,
I'm talking about, like, just how many countries must have seen it. I think that's probably the coolest part.
But what's interesting for us is, outside of, like, YouTube, when we launched 2 years ago, we were on in 8 countries, and I think we're now on in 152.
Wow.
And that growth is only really down to the show's relevance on the internet, which then makes other territories say we'd like to buy that show, because we see that people love it here, and it gets picked up on morning news in Finland or whatever, that we've done a bit with Orlando Bloom or whatever it is, and some network chief somewhere says, we should buy that show, people like it. And that's, like, I'm very, because we want to make a profitable show for our network, and I feel like we just know that making a show at 12:37 at night, we can't ever really move the dial when it comes to ratings. We can't move that. No, people don't change the channel at 12:37. So we have to make a show which can be consumed all throughout the day. Like, I don't know how old your daughter is that you just mentioned, but
12.
I doubt she's ever watched our show when it's on television.
Never. My kids don't watch
television,
cable channels.
Yeah, of course.
And they just watch everything on Hulu and Netflix and YouTube.
Yeah, and on their phone and
Amazon.
And so we feel we have to be a show that is at the forefront of that digitally.
It's interesting because I've known Kimmel for 15 years, and as this changed, because YouTube didn't really even show up to 06.
No.
And then around 09, it became a way to cheat on actually watching the show.
Yeah.
You just catch up on it.
Yeah.
I came from the generation, like, I'm a Letterman guy. That was my guy.
Yeah.
It was like, if you missed Letterman, that's it. You missed it.
Yeah,
if your VCR screwed up or whatever, it was gone. And then somebody told you, did you see it last night? And you were like, nah, I missed it.
And that's why I think there's none of this sort of, much as people would love to create it, there's none of this kind of friction or stuff between, like, hosts anymore.
Yeah.
Because people don't have to choose one person. People don't have to make a choice. It's all there. They can choose to watch, this show at that hour and know that tomorrow I'm going to watch these segments and this segment. Like, I couldn't tell you what our sort of Nielsen number is. I don't know, but I do know. I know how many subscribers we have on YouTube. I know how many people watch the show on Facebook Live. I know all of those numbers are the numbers that I know.
And the social media kind of just being relevant.
Well, that's all I think late night's about. Yeah. It's all it's ever been about.
Being in the conversation.
I don't think late night's changed. I just think the way that people consume it has changed. Because if back when Letterman and Steve Martin had their big day out, that would have been millions of people would have watched that on YouTube today. When he dunked himself covered in Rice Krispies into a huge thing of milk, probably
that was a huge part of the show. The first 4 years,
4 or 5 million people would have watched that clip. And when he put up a new Petrix, people would have watched it. When Leno does a jaywalking, people would have watched it. The very notion of the content that you're putting out hasn't changed. And all we ever try and do is think of our show. What's the beginning, the middle, and the end? What's in part 4? What's in part 2? What's in part 6? But knowing that our show will be consumed and live over here. And that's the space that I'm kind of more interested in anyway. Because it's a truer number. It's a truer number. It's a number where we're not reliant on a big football game or a playoff final or a big drama or award show to move the needle.
And sometimes you're even drafting off the primetime lineup or the show before you, stuff like that.
It can go back to 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Like, let's not forget, these shows were created by networks to go, people will fall asleep with the TV on.
Right.
And when they turn it back on in the morning, it will be on that channel.
True.
So if we boost our last show at night, we'll boost our morning number. That's where it came from.
And it's a fixed cost. They pay you, they pay your staff, they already have the studio, and it's just the same number every year.
That's it. So
with the ad sales, all that stuff. Yeah. That's why late night will never go away. I mean, really, where it is now is a pretty good place because you still have, I'm sure you love the conversations. I'm sure you see the guest list like, oh, that's great. I can't wait to talk to that person.
But
then you're still able to be relevant with the social stuff and you're hitting basically in two different places.
But also, when you say like the conversations, we had Jim Carrey was on our show on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And his interview, there's a sort of 4-minute part of that interview. We sort of break up our interviews into probably 4 or 5 minute segments online. One of those is at like 800,000 views. Just a 4-minute clip of an interview, and the next one's at 6, and the next one's at 3. It just, I don't know. I just think it's a truer number.
Another quick break to talk about credit-wise from Capital One. You know what? Numbers are great. WHIP, WAR, PER. Offensive rating, OTR. On their own, they don't tell the whole story. Credit isn't any different. With credit, it's all about how well you perform against the factors that go into a credit score. How good are you at paying your bills on time? How much credit do you have spread across different accounts? How long have those accounts been open? Stuff like that affects your credit health, and there's no single score that lenders use. So knowing these factors are key. And just like on the field, there's a lot more to credit than knowing your score. CreditWise lets you track the factors that make up your credit health using information from your TransUnion credit report. The app can help you spot errors, identify theft, and it lays that information you need to understand your behaviors and how they impact your credit health. And you can check it anytime without negatively impacting your credit. It's 100% free for everybody, whether you're a Capital One customer or not. Step up your game. Download CreditWise today. Back to James Corden. How much does the audience affect what the decisions you make with the show day to day?
In the room?
Yeah.
Massively for us. We have quite a young crowd at our show, which is wonderful. It's brilliant. But always. And then they don't. We always think about our audience. But then I also think that we have a bit on our show. It is so stupid. It might be the stupidest thing we've ever done on our show, called Dogs in Sunglasses. It's utterly ridiculous. It's so stupid. I don't know if you've been on the internet. There are so many pictures of dogs wearing sunglasses, and so we've written this thing where we go. I do it very straight, and I go, I want to talk to you about this guy. Let me tell you about this guy, and it'll be a dog wearing sunglasses, and I go, this guy. If this guy says there ain't nothing wrong, there ain't nothing wrong. Or like, let me see, is that an actual dog in sunglasses? Yeah, look. So look how many dogs are wearing sunglasses. You can't move. So what we do is, we'll pull up this guy, and we'll go, let me talk to you about this guy. This guy blew out his knee in a rollerblading accident, which prevented him from ever competing professionally, and now he owns a tanning salon. And this was and then there's one that says, this guy's going to spot you alone. This guy will spot you alone, and he's going to say, there's no timeline on this and no interest.
Did you have?
But you're going to have to suck his dick. And that, in our room, in the audience, is met by the single most confused faces I've ever seen. But we go, I don't know, me and our writers, we go, I just know that there might be 9 perplexed, per 10 viewers at home, there might be 9 perplexed faces, but there's one person's going, this is really tickling me, and you can't leave them out. So that's a segment for them, for sure.
I mean, that's the best thing about that time slot is you can get wonky every once in a while.
Oh, man, yeah, no, we love it.
Especially like around the 115, 122 range.
But the whole thing, we love it. I mean, like, we love... that's why we've done it a couple of times. I think we're going to try and do it again. We've gone and just done a show in someone's house, and that's been completely organic. We've never prepped a house, nothing. We've got a permit for a street, guests in a van, and we walk down the road, knock on the door, and say, "Can I come in and shoot?" And and what we want to do is get part 1 with no cuts. So people will say no, or people aren't home, or someone on an intercom says absolutely not. And then the few times we've done it, people have said yeah, and we go, when we come back, we're doing the show in this house. And I love it. That's when I really enjoy it.
How many years now has it been?
2.
What's been the highlight so far?
Oh man, I don't know.
Was there one moment that you let go? This is when I knew the show was going to make it.
I don't know. I don't mean this the way it sounds. It sort of felt like that from the end of the first show, actually. Well, no, I wasn't confident before that show, but at the end of that show, when it came out, I was like, oh, this is...
We got it.
I felt like... I don't know. I'm very proud of how quickly we found our feet, of how we just sort of hit the ground running. We knew that we didn't have a relationship with an audience where they would give us the benefit of time.
Yeah.
We knew that people were going to make up their mind on the show and me very, very quickly. And there's other hosts who, you know, if you've been on a huge show for a decade, you're going to have a group of people who are going to give you a shot and give you a chance, you know. So I don't know if I can pin it to like a moment, but like, I don't know. We won like those 2 Emmys last year, and which was incredible. And then we won the Critics' Choice Award where we were up against like Kimmel and John Oliver and shows that I just love, a Daily Show, you know, and to win that was like, wow. But I think it's all been a joy. It would be hard to pick I don't know, it's quite weird when you're in like the White House with the First Lady and Michelle Obama, and she's saying, I've always wanted to do this. And you're thinking, oh my God, I'm from High Wycombe, you know, in Buckinghamshire. This is lunacy. It's all been a very...
It'll be even better when you have Melania.
I mean, I feel like you're joking, but it might be, you know. It genuinely might. If that day ever comes...
If you get Melania to do Carpool Karaoke, I guarantee you'll get some views.
I'm so interested to see what she would say about stuff. I did a play in 2012 on Broadway, and I brought Donald Trump up on stage because there was a bit in our show where I would always bring someone up on stage to help me move this piece of scenery. And every night in New York, there would be wonderful people came to see the show. Like Gene Wilder's in one night, and Tom Hanks is in another night. And it was really incredible. And you can't bring those people up on stage because it could be seen as almost disrespectful. But like Trump, I was talking to my friend Ollie before the show. I was like, you can't really lose because half the audience don't like him anyway. So if we bring him up, we'll win with either all of the crowd or half of the crowd. And
they'll either hate watch it or they'll watch it.
Yeah, so I said to Ollie, I was like, I'm going to see. And with that play that we were doing, One Man, Two Governors, you can tell what the rest of the show is going to be like within the first 15 minutes. You know whether this is an audience who's up for it or aren't. And that can be dependent on the weather or whatever it is. And they were a little slow and they were a little cold, and I was like, I'm bringing him up. And so I just grabbed him. I brought him up on stage. I was spanking him. I fired him. And Melania was there, and she like sent me an email that night going, oh, it was so funny, it was lovely. And
you defended Fallon after the hair thing, right? A couple months later?
Yeah. Well, it's not that it's not even, I don't think even defend is the right word. I was just like, I don't think you can just mock one. Go back, watch everyone's interviews with him.
Yeah. Watch
Kimmel's interview with him. Or Stephen Colbert's interview with him, or the time where he called in on a phone to Colbert's monologue, and then watch Jimmy's one where he ruffles his hair. It's like, no one took it seriously. No one was asking the right questions.
Yeah.
And Jimmy's, the only reason people are outraged at Jimmy's one is there are people outraged at that who haven't even watched that interview. They've just seen a gif or a meme of him ruffling his hair. They've seen outrage trending over here, and they too are outraged without anything. And you got to watch them all. You got to watch them all. You got to watch everybody's
he hosted
interview.
SNL like, what, 8-9 months before that?
4 months before that.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it was the timing of it that hurt Fallon that time. Because it had passed the point where it wasn't like, oh, Trump, he's trying to... Then people are like, oh my God, he might actually win this. And I think that's what backfired on him. more than anything.
No, I just think the internet is a wonderful place to whip up a storm, and that's definitely true. I don't think it's fair. I also don't believe that late night hosts should be your barometer for where your interview is, or whether they should be the people that are asking the best questions. Like, right. I don't know that you should look to your late night hosts for your news or opinion. And it's a strange thing today, because it sort of feels like that might be the case.
Well, it's definitely helped Colbert. Last couple months, I think him and Seth Meyers have definitely, gotten behind in the politics thing, and it's helped.
Of course,
drive
because
more eyeballs.
100%, because there's no, who are the other voices? The most mystifying thing I've found in America is, since moving here, is a lack of Democratic Party leadership.
Yeah.
Who are the opposing voices? Who are the opposition party? Who are they?
We're all
Who's the
asking
leader?
this. Yeah.
But it's a strange thing, because the notion of running that party is a quest to be president one day. It's probably it's not going to happen for like 2 years, and whoever gets chosen will be the person that runs for president, as opposed to going, wouldn't it be better to go, let's find our leader now, and then in 18 months' time, that very person, what a great position they'll be in to then run for presidency, as already having been the leader of this party for 18 months.
No, America loves like the late coming person nobody saw coming.
It's not even the late coming person. There's no people. Who is it? Who's running?
Maybe they're coming.
No, but who is it? I'm kind of serious.
Listen, I would love to know.
Because like Jeremy Corbyn has been running, there's an election going to happen at home in a few weeks. Jeremy Corbyn's been the leader of the Labour Party for the last a minimum of 18 months, if not longer.
Yeah.
So, and now he's just running for election. And when our election takes 7 weeks, by the way, it's a much smaller country.
Yeah.
So when there are a lack of voices, what you end up looking to are the people who are saying just anything. Just someone say something to a group who are, as it stands in this country right now, the majority of people who didn't vote for Donald Trump. Who's the leader of the Democratic? I don't understand it. It's mystifying to me that the Democratic Party haven't held an election to elect who will be their leader, and that person will run to be the president of the United States for the Democratic Party next time. And you can sort of get rid of another group of 15 people turning up and massive debates and all these things. Just do it now. Do it today. Do it now and lead that party and lead that voices, so that when that election comes, people know where they stand and what people stand for. And then you don't end up in this position right now.
Tommy, you want to applaud?
Am I wrong though?
No, you're right.
I feel like what happens is you go, well, what do you stand for? What do you stand for? And that's all you want to know from a politician. But when it ends up and it's almost sort of, it's like American Idol. There's that many people auditioning, and there's the heat rounds, and you make it to boot camp, and then the debates and the thing. It's not show business. It's politics.
Yeah.
You know? So that's why I think...
Well, when we have President The Rock in 2020, I think it'll all be fine.
Well, I mean, yeah, probably. But who knows, you know?
He solved the San Andreas Fault earthquake, you know?
Yeah, but you could have done that. If you were there at the same time, you'd have made the same choices. We all would, you know? But I find it very strange, that. And I find
Is your home country in better shape now politically, do you think? Are you optimistic?
I don't know what sort of shape we're in. I sort of worry about like Brexit. I was sort of very opposed to that happening. So we'll see. It's a sort of astonishing time politically.
You think it's more chaotic there or here right now?
I think it's probably, I don't know. I mean, it's hard. It's hard because of those, I haven't been there for a while, so I don't know. It's hard for me to say where it might be more chaotic or not. But it's also a far smaller country. I mean, you can fit Britain into Texas 280 times, you know, like that's how vast America is. So it's difficult to sort of compare the two, really, you know?
So I spent, 4 weeks there. The things that jumped out to me, the day drinking was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Just the spirit of that. And it always seemed like it was Friday at 3:00, but like every day was like that.
Yeah.
Which, you know, here it's really only Fridays like that. How much I walked and hopping on subways, and it was great. It was like the best things I've liked about Boston and New York, but way better.
Yeah.
It's just, you're always kind of on the move and going here to there, all that stuff. And people were just friendly, you know, and it made me think, like, here in LA, the one thing I don't like that much about LA is what everybody says about being trapped to your car and you're just going from point A to point B to point C. And
well, there isn't a sense of community here.
No.
Community doesn't exist because there isn't a middle. There isn't a center. I mean, I drive around LA and sometimes I think, did no one think to just build something? Some form of monument, anything. Give us a fountain. Give us something. Give us a sort of central point.
It's the Staples Center and the Shaq statue.
Yeah, I don't know if that's enough. And so that sense of community in Britain is really quite astonishing. Which I do think you have in New York, and I do feel like you get in Boston. Certainly you get a sense of sort of pride.
Chicago has it too.
Yeah.
San Francisco, some parts have it. Yeah.
But as
there's
far
pieces all over the place. But
as far as the drinking goes, it is astonishing. I don't know. I feel like if you have 2 glasses of wine here in LA, if you have 4 glasses of wine, more realistic. If you have 4 glasses of wine in LA, someone's calling an intervention. If you have 4 glasses of wine in Britain, you're the designated driver. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how ridiculous it is.
And a lot of smoking too, which I'd forgotten. It was like a lot of cigarettes. And just, it was old school.
Well, I think the smoking is getting less and
they're
less.
kind of back finally?
I think so. Yeah. Well, I certainly hope so, but I think so. You know, as younger generations are coming through, but it's that sort of culture of the pub, of going to the pub, you know, sitting in the pub, few drinks, your mates, things, which is actually, I have to say, never been a massive part of my life, really. Yeah. I'm not a huge drinker. And if I do, I never really drink like a pint of lager. I quite like a vodka cranberry, you know? So it's like I'm quite sort of, I guess, effeminate in that way.
The walk to Wimbledon was incredible.
To Wimbledon,
the walk to, like, getting off at the train stop, and then it's like this 10-minute when you're like, is it really here? And then it's like, it's
like,
down
I feel like I'm in a housing estate.
Are we in the right spot?
Yeah, and then you just happen
and then all of a sudden there it is, and they're like,
and it's so classy, Wimbledon.
It's the best.
It's so classy.
It was so cool. I loved it.
There's no big advertising billboards or hoardings anywhere. There's just a class to it, which I think is probably the best of Britishness.
And Wembley was staggering, just the size.
Wembley Stadium.
Yeah. It was just like, whoa. We saw, I think, the gold medal women's soccer game there. And it was just like, oh my God, this is just a lot of people. Who is your team? Do you have one?
I support West Ham United, who are East London Premier League football team. We've been relegated 3 times in the last sort of 15 years. But they are the team for my sins that I have chosen.
But that's good though, right?
Yeah.
It's better to root for that than like Manchester United.
Well, it just means so much if we win anything.
Yeah.
You know, it means the world. Like, not that we ever do, but should we ever win a trophy?
You can look at Leicester City and be like, that could be us someday.
Yeah. Probably not. But
that's what Leicester City said.
No, I know. And listen, it's the hope that kills you. We have a song that we sing called I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles. Is like West Ham's song. And there's a bit in it where it says, fortune's always hiding. I've looked everywhere, but I'm forever blowing bubbles, pretty bubbles in the air. United, 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 and that's our song. And nothing will tell you more about the state of a team's fans than if their own song they've talked about how there's really no fortune anywhere.
That's why Boston and the England always had the connection, because Boston, until we started winning titles the last 12 years, was always fatalistic.
Yeah.
The worst possible thing. That was the Red Sox mentality.
Yeah.
The worst thing's going to happen at all times.
Yeah.
And England's great at that. World Cup, do you get on the bandwagon for that one?
Oh, yeah. I love it. The World Cup's the greatest.
And England has a checkered history.
Well, yeah, but so do most teams. But the World Cup in itself...
England's pretty checkered. There's some checkers.
But same as Uruguay, and you know what I mean? like you know, I'm saying there's a lot of teams.
Uruguay.
No, I'm saying there's a lot of teams. It's every team in the world. So it's not that it's, you know, it's not that it's checkered. I just love the World Cup in its. We created a TV show at home on ITV that went live after the World Cup.
Yeah.
Me and my best friend Ben, who's the exec producer of the Late Late Show here, we created a TV show just on the sole purpose that we could then watch the World Cup every day and make a show after it. It's that good. It's amazing. I wish America would get into football and stop
It's happening. This decade has been the decade that it's starting to happen.
I know, but it's never really going to happen.
It's not going to be like what England's like.
But it's never going to happen until the MLS understands the joy and the beauty of defending. Like a 1-0 win.
A stealth shot at the MLS.
No, but a 1-0 win is a great thing.
Yeah.
But
the MLS is AAA.
A 0-0 draw, a 0-0 draw is every MLS owner's worst nightmare.
Right.
It's like, oh my God, there were no goals. Sometimes we'll have a 0-0. It's an exhilarating, wonderful game. But if you now watching the MLS, if you get used to these winning games 6-4, 7-3, 4-1, like I think we scored 4 goals in a game once this season. Right. In like 40 games, you know? So
the MLS is doing better than I thought it would do, but it's still...
I love it. I mean, the amount of people at the Galaxy, and I love the Galaxy. I love the ground. I love the stadium. I love the team. I think it's awesome, and I think it's great. I just think you've got to kind of... But, you know, the sport here is so strange. Like, I've got really into basketball since I've moved here. I feel like that's the game I respond most to.
My favorite sport.
Yeah, I think it's the game I respond most to, and going to watch the Clippers and stuff is amazing. But it really is insanity that you would play that many games just for a playoff position.
82.
And then you go into the playoffs. It's just insane.
People were talking because LeBron had all this rest and then was playing great in the playoffs with the rest. And people were like, this is what it would be like if they had a Premier League schedule where they played twice a week and LeBron was rested for every game. He would be incredible.
100%.
Who replaced Beckham as like kind of the prince of
English
sports
football?
Yeah. So that was a pretty big void.
After Beckham, we had players like Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, who was still playing.
Yeah, but none of those guys were on the Beckham level, though.
As players, they were.
But not as like icon.
Oh, yeah, but that's then you're talking about commercials and endorsements.
That's what I'm asking.
You've never sounded more American than you did just then.
I'm saying like the big guy, the great guy who also gets all the spoils. Like right now we have Durant, we have LeBron, we have Westbrook, and you know the guys who have kind of transcended the sport. Is there anyone like that now for?
Well, people would tell. I'm sure there would be many people who would tell you that Steven Gerrard and what he did for Liverpool was like astounding. Like he was a absolute superstar. But no one, I don't think, has filled David's void of being quite so magnificent. Yeah. At being a brand, if you like. Like he is just a model spot. And then what was incredible about David was that he was like a phenomenally gifted player who could curl free kicks into a top left-hand corner and was just like outrageous to watch and was incredible. But now we have some players coming through now. We have a player called Dele Alli who, to my absolute annoyance, plays for Tottenham, and Harry Kane, who's a striker. And those two look like they're genuine like world beaters. They're genuinely incredible players.
When Beckham came here, people don't know anything about soccer here, so he comes and it's like, this guy has amazing crosses. And And people are like, what? Like, does he score? How many goals did he have? And it's like, no, that's not what's good about watching Beckham.
Yeah.
Like Gerrard's the same thing, where it's like, it's the attention to detail.
Well, yeah,
and some of the stuff that wasn't goals was what made them great.
That's my point about America and football is it will only...
They don't get it.
Yeah, but that's the same as I don't get baseball. I mean, I don't get baseball at all. I feel like I'm watching a group of people I don't know have a picnic. Like, that's it. That's what I'm seeing. I'm like, yeah, I can pay to watch people have a picnic. That's so long as we all understand that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
1,000 times in a 3-month window of summer. But I'm well aware, painfully aware, that the reason I don't get into baseball is because I don't really understand it.
That's how most people here were like with soccer. They didn't understand that there could be an awesome 1-0 game.
Yeah.
People were like, well, 100%. I don't understand. Nobody scored. Why don't they? What if they got rid of offsides? And
well, I heard a story once that there was an owner. I can't remember where it's from. There was an owner. I think he was a Chinese owner. Bought a soccer team, and their defender. They had a defender who was on a massive wage, maybe on like 150 grand a week or whatever. And he was looking at the wage bill for the team, and he immediately set about. He said, "I'm not paying this. He's only scored twice in the last year." And they were like, "Yeah, he's a defender."
Right.
You know, if they don't score, we've got a better chance of winning, right? You know, it's that notion of the art of defending. That's it.
Do you have a pick between Barcelona and Real Madrid? Have you picked sides? I haven't picked sides either.
Not really. I don't really feel the need to. It's not, you know.
I think a lot of people feel the need to. I don't feel the need to, though.
Well, no, I've picked my team.
Yeah.
And then everyone else I can appreciate. When
they play against each other, I find myself rooting for Barcelona, but it's more like the kind of soccer that I like.
Well, I would root for Real Madrid only because Gareth Bale plays for them and he's a really nice guy. So that was my frame of reference. I'm actually going to go to the Champions League final next Saturday, which is in Cardiff, which is Real Madrid v Juventus, which I think will be an amazing.
Do you think America needs a royal family?
No, because I don't think it's something you can invent.
Yeah.
I think it's something...
we have the Kardashians.
You do. I don't think it's something you can... I don't think it could ever work because America's so big. It's so huge. It's so vast. That's ultimately, I think, the biggest problem with America is the money's on the left and the right, and then all of the infrastructure and the produce is in the middle.
It would be a lot easier if California was its own country and Texas was its own country.
I don't know if
America
it'd be easier.
would make more sense.
Well, no, I don't know if it'd be easy, but it's just a really hard thing to navigate. That I think so. It would be really difficult to have a royal family that everyone could agree on. Not that we all agree on it at home.
It seems like the royal family is in the best shape from a scandal standpoint that it's been in a while.
Yeah, it seems to be, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it seems to be.
It's almost like I need Harry needs to kind of go off the rails a little bit or something. It's a little too.
I like Harry.
It's a little too boring. It seems like he's dating an actress now.
Apparently so. I like him very much. I'm a big fan of his. I'm a big fan of all of them, but you're right. It has been quite scandal-free for a while.
It's too bad there wasn't a third sibling that they kind of didn't talk about that much. Who's just over there. It took 7 years to graduate college and was getting in trouble. Would have been more fun. Last thing, you showed up alone, and I commented on how you showed up alone, and you were surprised because sometimes people have entourages. Will you tell the U2 story?
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, you were saying, I couldn't think who else I would be here with, really, and we were saying how the people come with publicists and things like that, and I don't know, just never really felt like it's something that I need to sort of do right now. And we were talking about people who have massive entourages, and it reminded me of there's a story where apparently Coldplay were touring with U2 right at the start of the Parachutes album coming out, and that album, and particularly the song Yellow, had started to do really well for Coldplay in the UK and in Europe. And Chris Martin could feel that there was a sort of wave changing at home and they were becoming more popular, and he said to Bono, have you got any advice? Have you got any advice you could just hand over to me? And he said, And Bono's advice to Chris Martin was, he just said, if you're consistently going out for dinner and everyone sat round the table is on your payroll, you've probably become a prick. And I think there's something to be said for that. You can't always just be surrounded by people that have got skin in the game that is you, you know? You've got to still be a person, I think. That's
It's a good story. Why, I forgot to ask you, why does America have to keep stealing from English TV shows?
I don't know if they keep...
Why are you guys so good at this?
Listen, we're not.
I'm using a you guys like we're
It's very kind. It's very kind of you to. It's very kind of you to say that, but it isn't the case.
Okay.
It's the same on both sides of the Atlantic.
I like to hear that.
We only get the best of your stuff.
Yeah.
And you only get the best of our stuff. So we don't get like just the reams of sort of terrible television that you might make. We will just get these, and there are things that American television can do that no one else in the world can do. No country, not a country on the planet has been able to crack Saturday Night Live other than America.
You're right.
No one's been able to do it. And believe me, countless people have tried. The notion, Seinfeld, Curb, Larry Sanders, The West Wing, Breaking Bad, House of Cards, Bloodline, Big Little Lies. It is right now, these are television shows which, This Is Us. Have you watched this show?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
My wife cries during all of them.
I feel like my heart can't take it anymore. My heart feels like it's going to explode when I watch it. Like it's so full of just emotion and love and a wonder at how you can make a show as deftly as that. I don't understand how it's possible. It's brilliant. So I think it's a very common misconception to say, we can't do it like that. It's just not true. There are people making television now and people making films and people writing plays. But if we're talking about television, there are people doing it now and today who are above anything else that's ever happened in the world of television before. That are telling stories it's inconceivable would be told on television even a decade ago. It's... The most wonderful time for television is today. It's just that the parameters of what we thought television was and what it currently is and what it's going to be are blurred. So people can start to sort of freak out, but I find it nothing but exciting because right now, today, content is the king. Content is the absolute king, where a show like The Handmaid's Tale can come out on Hulu and it's just a masterpiece. And This Is Us can be on NBC, and Atlanta can be on FX. I mean, fuck me, Atlanta. Like this, there is better television being made right now in this country than has ever happened before.
I think I agree. I was like, last time I was watching American Gods, that show's really good. We're just...
Well, also our...
B+ shows are just coming out of the woodwork left and right now.
Our barometer for what is good and what we demand from a show now is so much greater than it ever was, because the wealth of option is huge. The only thing that's a worry, the only thing that worries me in the world of streaming all this stuff, is I don't think and I hope it doesn't happen. I fear it will, but I hope it doesn't. We would never lose sight of what television is at its best for, what it's used at its best for, what it's its most pertinent and potent sort of ingredient is that it can be a tool to bring people together.
Yeah.
It can be a tool to bring people together. And my worry is that it will become an insular experience. It will become an experience of one, as opposed to an experience of five, which is the house I grew up in, which is me, my mum, and me and my two sisters, my two sisters and I and my parents. And now television is becoming a solo project. It's a thing you do on your own. And that's the only thing that I get scared about. And that's where network television just has to embrace itself. And we hope that we will still have those incredible moments like the last episode of Friends or the Super Bowl or the World Cup final. I mean, sports is the common denominator in that. And I feel like it's up to us as consumers to make sure we still share those moments together. We're as responsible as the very people giving us the shows to make sure that these are things that we are enjoying with our loved ones and our people. Like, I want to make sure that I watch shows with my son, with my daughter, with my wife, and that we have things that we will all watch together. Because if we're not careful, it will just become a one-on-one experience between your phone and yourself. And you'll come into work and you'll go, I've been watching this show. And they'll go, don't tell me, I'm only on episode 9. And you're like, well, I'm on season 11. You know, like that's where we've got to, we have to be as responsible as that, as the very people who are giving us that content.
That's why I thought the most interesting thing that happened this year TV-wise was SNL running the East Coast version on the West Coast to try to get everybody to see the show at the same time for the experience. Because it really was a problem where the East Coast, we couldn't see it out here for an extra 3 hours, and it didn't hurt the ratings. It was actually good. It was good for the ratings. It was good for whatever people getting excited about the show right away. And it made me think, like, as long as the networks keep saying to themselves, let's just try it, then we're in good shape. If they're stuck in that mode of, no, this is the way we've always done it, we can't, that's when I think we'll get into trouble.
Well, my experience of working on a network right now is I've seen nothing but, like, look, the very fact that I'm here talking to you right now is the best example of a network going, let's just try it.
Yep.
It's as good an example as one as you'll ever find. Like, I am the most ridiculous appointment. And so I do believe that there are people at networks, and I believe in the power of network television. I just think it's just going to shape itself slightly differently.
I forgot to ask you why Jules Holland gets so many good musical guests. What is it about that guy?
Because he respects the artist and the music.
The YouTube clips of people who have sang on that show for the last, I don't know how many years he's been on.
But
it's like a who's who.
Of course, but artists will respond. No one greater than a recording artist will respond to someone who they feel truly respects music. And I feel like, I'm not bringing this back to like our show, but that's how we got Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
And Adele and, you know, Lady Gaga and Bruno, people who don't necessarily do that many things, is they go, I see, this person actually respects the form of it and writing a song. And Jules' show it's a masterpiece, man. It's and also everyone gets to perform 3 songs. It's in that beautiful 360 set.
Yeah.
It's joyous to watch.
And now, I forgot to tell you that Adele, I actually had a little crush on her after that segment.
She's great.
She's sexy, huh? Like, there's some bodiness about her. She seems like she'd be fun to hang out with.
Yeah, I mean, we've known her a long time. My wife's known her like probably like over.
She'll throw them down, right? She'll get the second, third bottle of wine out, and
she's just great. Yeah. She's so much fun. She's wonderful. She's as good a person as you can ever meet. And what I tell you, the most amazing thing, I had a real moment, because obviously when you're hanging out and you're just hanging out together and stuff, you never forget how famous she is. You never forget how unbelievably famous she is. You do forget how unbelievably talented she is.
Yeah.
And she came round to our house a few weeks before the Grammys, and she'd said that she was going to do this tribute to George Michael at the Grammys. And she said, can I play you this? And she played it to my wife and I, and it was just her in the shower singing this sort of ballad version of George Michael's song Fast Love. And my whole body, every hair on my body stood up. And you're like, oh shit, I forgot how unbelievable your voice is, you know? And it's always a joy if she's around.
You had that with Jennifer Hudson too. That was when I was like, I forgot she has one of the greatest voices of all time.
That voice will knock you over. I mean, that voice is insane. I think she's going to do a bit on our London shows next week. I hope.
All right. So what are the dates for London?
I think we're in London the 6th, 7th and 8th of June. That week we'll be coming from Westminster Cathedral Hall. It's going to be fun, I hope. I think. We'll see.
Good luck. I'm excited for you. That'll be fun.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for doing this. Good luck with West Ham.
Oh, man, we need it.
You have a song about how tortured you are. It's probably a bad sign.
Jeez.
Thank you so much.
Bless you.
Thanks so much to Stamps.com. They bring the U.S. Postal Service right to your fingertips. Buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter, any package, any class of mail using your own computer and printer. They will send you a digital scale, automatically calculate exact postage, and you will never have to go to the post office again. Sign up for Stamps.com. Use promo code BS for a 4-week trial plus postage plus a digital scale with no long-term commitments. Click on the microphone at the top of the Stamps.com homepage. Type in BS. We love Stamps.com here at The Ringer. Thanks to Capital One. They created the CreditWise app so you can check your credit score anytime you want right in the app. It's free to everyone. Download CreditWise today. Availability depends on presence of credit history from TransUnion. CreditWise, offered by Capital One Bank, USA, and .A. And thanks to Binge Mode, The Ringer's newest podcast, which launched today. Congratulations to Mallory Rubin and Jason Concepcion and all of the Game of Thrones nerds out there. It is the greatest television show we have. It is the television show that people have the most opinions and theories on, and nobody has better opinions and theories on the first 60 episodes than Mallory and Jason. Re-experience the show episode by episode, 10 a week, 60 in total. And when I say this is a deep dive, I cannot exaggerate. This is the deepest of dives. Anyway, Binge Mode, subscribe wherever you get podcasts. I will be back later this week with a live podcast, not live, but semi-live from Cleveland on Wednesday. Until then.